One day that intro is just going to end, Paul, and I'm going to be sitting here with a banjo.
You know.
Yep. Before we get into podcast goodness, this show is brought to you by Cloudberry Lab, providers of cloud-based backup and file management services. Go check them out for all of that goodness. We'll have more on them in a couple weeks, I think. I was trying to figure out the show notes for describing what has now become what Intel has done. The flaws.
What do we call this? We need a name for this, right? Yeah. And it's going to be something better than like CPU gate, or, you know, there's got to be some good term for this. Although, I do find the Watergate connection to be kind of, apropos.
The current name right now that is floating around is called Meltdown, which Meltdown Gate. Yeah. Or something. But apparently it's a little confusing. And one of the reasons why I don't write some of this stuff up is if I feel that it is above my pay grade. I am very much a believer in offering no advice rather than bad advice. This is one of those times.
That's actually good advice.
Yeah. Because there's a couple things going on here. So there's the Intel issue, which we'll dive into in a second, which is a cluster, to say it politely. And then there's also an issue that Google found that actually impacts Intel, AMD, and ARM, and Android, and iOS, and everything else. That is a separate issue. And all these lines are getting crossed. And basically, Paul, the only thing I can conclude from this is, why can't we have nice things anymore?
We don't have enough fingers to point to all the parties that are to blame here. But let me highlight a couple, because
I'm going to try.
I have 10 fingers. Screw it. I don't appreciate the fact that the Register wrote about this before the companies were able to release their fixes, right? This was happening within a week of the time that they had to break the story. Like, that was more important than keeping the internet safe. I think that sucks. I know there's a thing between the press and, democracy's right to know and blah, 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 whatever. But I would point to instances of national security where, the government has gone to the press, rightfully or wrongly, and said, look, we'd appreciate it if you wouldn't publish this thing, whatever it might be, the Pentagon Papers in the past or whatever. And they would cite various reasons for that needing to happen. So I think that kind of sucks. As a journalist or a pseudo-journalist myself, I sort of look at that and think, that's unfortunate. Also, the dog, who was confused by the fact that there are two doors in this room, is trying to get out the one that is closed. Anyway, I will point to Google.
Good analogy by the way. My life, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Scratching at a door. Right. There's an open door right there, and they're scratching over. So Google, which has made a habit of giving companies a very short amount of time to fix vulnerabilities and then reporting them anyway. They've done this to Microsoft repeatedly in the past. Microsoft has come to them again and again and said, stop doing this. Google knew about this flaw several months ago. No one reported it. They let Google coast, take months to fix their own products. I hope they learn something from this, because that's how it's done. You don't screw over your competitors or other companies in the industry to release information about a security vulnerability. Like, it makes no sense. That to me is just morally wrong. AMD, a little bit of chortling on their part, like, oh, we're not affected at all. Surprise. Yeah, you are, and you're idiots. And that's just a dumb. Their response was immature, I think, is the only way I could say it. But obviously, if I'm going to point a finger at anybody, and it would be the middle one, it has to be at Intel. Their response to this is unexplainable. I don't even know what to say. I wrote an article today. I decided, like, rather than approach this as a news story, like, here are the vulnerabilities. Here's what's going on. Here's what these companies are doing to patch it. Thought what I do instead, I got to bring this up because I want to get the quotes right, is Intel released a statement yesterday, like a long statement, and they made a bunch of quotes, statements within the statement, and a lot of them are lies. And it's really, really, I just don't even know what to say. That they've known about this since June. They've known the issues. Yeah. They have, I'm sure, worked with AMD and ARM Holdings or whatever. I'm sure they have. But then they still released this statement less than 24 hours before they knew this stuff was all going to go public. So instead of making sure that what they said was correct, they wormily kind of lied, right? Not kind of, they lied. And the quotes are recent reports that these exploits are caused by a bug or a flaw in quotes and are unique to Intel products are incorrect, right? Yeah, first of all, they are bugs and flaws. There are no need for quotes. Those are real words. Those are real descriptions. No, they're not unique to Intel chips. We get that. But Intel is the one that's hit hardest here. And it is irresponsible of them to throw this out. This is like, remember when Apple had the AntennaGate issue and they were like, everyone has this problem. Okay. But you have it 100%. The other guys, no one ever noticed this. Like your problem was way more serious. And that's exactly what Intel's doing. But you know what? This is way more serious than my phone call. My phone can't make a call when I'm holding it a certain way. I mean, that's just bad design. This is negligent. They said that contrary to some reports, any performance impacts are workload dependent and for the average computer user should not be significant. Right. But some of those other workloads, it's going to be significant. That's the part they left out. All the reports are suggesting right now, especially on Linux-based servers in the cloud, that the impact is going to be about 30%. That's a significant performance impact. They just kind of left that part out. And then what did I leave out? Oh, yeah. Intel, this is the best one. Intel believes that these exploits do not have the potential to corrupt, modify, or delete data. Yeah, that's true. But they left out the important bit. These exploits do have not the potential, but the ability to access your data, to steal it, to take it. Yeah, it may not be able to corrupt, modify, or delete the original copy of it, but they can take it. That's the problem. That is the vulnerability. That's the exploit, I should say.
And
these
so
statements are off.
I want
They're just
jump
wrong.
in right there because Raphael, who he didn't do anything except he retweeted something, but it's worth going to his
what did he do
Twitter
this time?
feed because he follows all these people. And there was a guy, and they're going to release the code here, I'm assuming a couple weeks or months or whatever, that was a proof of concept of this. And it's actually, I believe, on a Mac of all things. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. Sure. It's running on Intel. And he has a terminal window open and his password manager open. And what he's doing is he's typing a password into the password manager, and in terminal, it's showing up in plain text because all it's doing is reading that exposed memory. It's That's really amazing. Incredible. And it's real time.
I mean, look, I've had a lot of good humor about this over the past 24 hours because what I consider to be good humor, but because what's the alternative, right? Fetal position, crying in the corner. I mean, like this is so ludicrous. It's so amazing. It affects everybody. And by everybody, I mean everybody in the industry. It's not just Intel, of course, but it's also not just Microsoft and Linux. It's Apple with the Mac. It's ARM-based chips. It's like everything. I mean, it's serious, you know. And so many companies knew about this for so long. Obviously, they all did what they could do to fix the flaws or to mitigate them to some degree. I think it should be sobering to everybody that it is literally 6 or 7 months later. And the response today is like, we're not sure if we can fix one of these. Like, I mean, it's that should be alarming. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta. So I thought I read a quote somewhere that said these things impact processors dating back to, I think, 1995 on Intel chips.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine if you're Intel, if somebody comes up to you and says, yep, there's a flaw and it affects everything we've done for the past 20 years. And it's not just
there are products. Yeah, products that have been out of support for decades now that were impacted by this, right? We're not going to go back and fix those products, of course. You know, the Pentium M is not getting an update. Sorry. But
right.
I don't know. You know, this is and this preys on all of our insecurities. Are your lights okay?
What?
Are your lights okay?
Yeah, my lights are fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were giving a command over there or something.
Oh, no. I'm just dumb.
Okay. You know, one of my favorite topics that doesn't really have anything to do with technology is conspiracy theory. And not because I believe in conspiracies, I don't. but because we are, as humans, hardwired to believe in conspiracies. And so when you look at something like the JFK assassination, you think, well, there's no way that one man did this, even though the scientific evidence is very clear. 3 shots, one guy, whatever. And yeah, the guy had a suspicious path through life, and he was in touch with the Russians, and there was mob in that city, and whatever. But it was just the one guy. Sorry, guys. This is very clear cut, as it turns out. And you can look at any conspiracy theory you want to, and what these numbers line up in certain ways. And isn't it interesting that the assassinations of President Lincoln and President Kennedy have certain correlations? And no, it's not really that interesting. Actually, it's just a coincidence. But this is the thing we have built into us. And it's the reason why when you see something moving in the tall grass as a caveman or whatever, you run away. It might have been a tiger. It might have been nothing. But because we ran away, those people survive. And here we are. We believe in conspiracies. And, the Intel conspiracy here is so beautiful because it's so stupid. But Intel knew about this in June. Intel in August suddenly said, you know what? We're going to give quad-core processors to everyone. We're just going to bump the performance. What is it, like 30%? Would you say? It's about a 30% performance bump. Isn't that nice?
Oh, God.
And then 6 months later, it's like, oh, by the way, back in June, we knew about this security problem, and the fixes we're going to have to make are going to have a performance impact of, what is it again? 30%. It's stupid. I mean, and I hope it was clear when I was joking about this on Twitter or as I'm discussing this now. This is ludicrous, right? Former or current Intel CEO sold off millions and millions of dollars worth of Intel stock over the summer. Complete coincidence, or is it? Yep. But I mean, I sort of like this aspect of it because we see these connections, even when they're just, completely made up. But I think it's fun.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, again, I'd be drinking and crying.
That's just another day that ends in Y for me, Paul. Especially since they signed Marvin Lewis for 2 more years, there's been a lot more drinking in my household.
Yeah, actually, and some celebrating over here in the Pittsburgh fan region.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure they are. They're like, oh, yeah. 2 more years of just average.
You couldn't have gotten like Adam Sandler's character from The Waterboy to maybe lead your team next season. I mean, like what exactly does he have to do wrong before? Nothing.
We're probably going to find out in the next 2 years. That's my guess. Anyways, speaking of things that might make you happy, if the word ThinkPad makes you happy, Lenovo, I almost said Intel, Lenovo pretty much announced the overhaul of a lot of that ThinkPad stuff ahead of the CES. That's up on Thurrott. You can go check it out. Basically, every SKU of the ThinkPad is now either thinner, faster, or better battery life. Typically pick 2, because if you have all 3, then it's real expensive. But that is going on. I'm sure we're going to see a bunch more stuff here in the next couple of days. Other fun stuff. This thing right here, Paul, the Johnson Controls Cortana-based thermostat. Can now pre-order that bad boy, I think, for 319 dinero.
You know what you can't do with that thing, though, is ask it what song is playing.
Wow.
Yep. Yikes.
Yeah, I have many mixed feelings about this thing, because it's like, hey, are you going to install it in your house and review it? I don't know.
It's pretty. I mean, I like it. I like the glass design. It reminds me of those Microsoft prototype or futuristic videos, like the Office of the Future. The guy would run around with this little, it was like a little phone that was just a piece of glass or whatever. And I think it's the type of thing that would look good anywhere. But yeah, it's like, I mean, so is there a Google Home version of that, or
Here's what kind of has me on the question mark. One, it's integrated with Cortana, which I guess that's kind of neat if that's your thing or whatever. And it would be kind of nice to have that just everywhere or whatever. My concern here, Paul, is not specifically this thing. It's that this thing connects to approximately $10,000 worth of equipment in my household, and it has the ability to turn it on and off and potentially screw it up. Unlike most reviews that we do, this one has the potential to cause a lot of financial harm to my household. And I don't know if I want to be on the leading edge of Cortana-based thermostat adjustments to my AC and furnace.
I mean, I can't even use this thing. We have the most complex and stupid heating system on the planet. And so we have like AC, which is on its own thing and has its own ductwork. And then the rest of the house is like not the rest of the house. The heating is electric. And there's literally a controller for the heat in every single room in the house, including some hallway type rooms that are just like passageways between rooms. It would cost, many tens of thousands of dollars to fix this problem. And I can assure you that I'm not putting in a $349 thermostat plus $40,000 in other bills so I can play with Cortana. As much as that would be neat. Yeah. I wish, but yeah, it can't happen.
I don't know. We'll see. $319 is a lot to spend on it. It does look good. Now, does it function as well as it looks? I mean, like, is this like responsive and all that good stuff? I don't know. I mean, I trust Johnson Controls to not really honestly screw up my heating and AC. Because they have actually a pretty long history of doing this stuff. But I'd be very curious to see how well it actually operates on that panel. And like, is this thing flimsy? Like, is my daughter going to come out and be like, oh, button, and just like crash?
Yep. Let's see if it floats.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if that is your cup of tea, that is now out. $319 ships in like 2 to 3 months from now. I think March is when they said it is hopefully going to be available. So.
Yeah. Look, I'm actually glad it came out. Remember, this thing was kind of previewed some months ago. It seemed like the type of thing that would it's almost, we're just kind of screwing around with designs. Will we ever do it? So, it's great. I'm glad they're doing it. It looks nice.
Yeah. This is a very random aside. But the reason why somebody actually said, Brad, why do you look so defensive on the podcast lately? Because I've been sitting with my arms crossed. It's because it is approximately 9 degrees right where I'm sitting.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't miss doing the podcast from my old basement. Where the temperature would be similar. In fact, if I was home today, we might not be doing this because I believe they're getting 117 inches of snow or something up in Boston right now.
Is that rounding up or down?
Yeah, it's in the rough area. But as I joked with you earlier today, we have approximately, I don't know, 1/3 of an inch of snow on the ground, and they cancel school because it's Pennsylvania, and you can still see the outlines of the cracks in the road. It's like it is the flimsiest. You probably put more sugar coating on a brownie than there is snow on the ground. Like, it makes no sense. But yeah, they closed school.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, yep. So you got that. One other thing, I should probably write this up. So here's a fun little anecdote for you. If you have a Windows 10S machine, which I know not many people do, but you're thinking, you know what? I want to join the Insider program. That sounds like a fun thing to screw up my computer with. Well, if you are hardened on Windows 10S and you join the Insider program, it actually installs Windows 10 Pro. It doesn't install Windows 10. Can we be
clear? Did you confirm? Is this true?
I did it on my own machine, yeah.
Because I could be, I'm positive this wasn't the case at some time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I feel like over the summer I was using the Insider program on Windows 10S, and there was, I can't remember now. I mean, I'm using 10S on a computer for the book, and that's not on the Insider program, so I'm not going to get, but that would be a horrific mistake if you intended to stay on 10S.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you get a quote from Microsoft on this?
No, I just emailed the Insider team and I told them, I was like, hey, here's a bug. I mean, there's really, what are they going to say? Like, that's, so Paul, actually, if you take a step back, I think it was last week or maybe the week before, we got a tip. Somebody was emailing us and saying, hey, look, I'm able to install Win32 or Win32 applications on Windows 10S.
Yes.
And we're like, how are you doing this? And he labeled out a bunch of steps. And then what happened was I got a couple more tips. And what actually was happening is that those people were on Windows 10S and then they were on the Insider program. And so they ran an update and then they said, oh, look, I can install all this stuff. But it's because they weren't on S anymore, which.
No, I remember I was testing some of the stuff he was doing on the machine I had. And I'm like, I'm not seeing this. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
well, that's good to know about. You should write this up.
I should. I meant to do it earlier or late yesterday, but I got tied up in a 90-minute meeting because, why not?
Sure. Because work. Yeah.
Because, the show must go on.
Yeah.
Anyways, you got anything else for today, Paul, before?
Yeah, I'm going to act defensive as well.
Dude, I What happens here is I get off this podcast and then I go huddle around my little space heater under my desk. What I'm thinking of doing is hiring an intern to actually sit in this chair before the podcast because it is freezing. Like this is an exterior wall, and I'm basically in the corner of my basement.
I don't miss the basement. Walls. It looks like you're in the set from Silence of the Lambs. I have been so cold this week that I have actually been sleeping with socks.
Wow.
Yeah, it's freezing.
It is.
It's really cold. Like I'm cold all the time.
For my utility bill.
I joked with you about $1,000 bill. That was not a joke. Like I'll let you know what it is. No, I bet it's close to $1,000. I really do. It's going to be very expensive.
We keep our heat at 68 Fahrenheit, and just during the day or whatever. And my furnace is turning off and on, and it's got a 2 degrees. So it'll go from 68, it'll drop down to 66, and then it kicks back on. Not real rocket science here. I would say my furnace is kicking on about every 45 minutes.
Oh, so the only benefit to electric heat is that it's silent. But in keeping with the stupidity in this house that we moved into, if like I said, there's a literal control in the wall in every single room in the house. So dozens of controls. I don't know how many that is, 17 or whatever. There were 5 different designs. Some of them are digital and they have little, up, down buttons. You can program it to 68 or 70 degrees or whatever. Some of them are programmable. You can actually open a panel and there's a little dial and you can say, do different things at different times, but there's only a couple of those. And frankly, because the rooms are all connected, there's not a lot of point in programming anything because the heat's going to seep around as it does. But some of them are analog. So there's like a dial, like just a dial. And the dials, this is what the dial says. It's beautiful. Comfort zone.
Oh,
so in other words, in this room, you might walk up to, in this room, we have a digital control. So I could hit up, down arrow buttons and I could set it to 68. But when I walk into the kitchen or whatever, maybe the room next door, I don't remember what's where, I can set it to M or maybe O, depending on, I don't know what that equates to in temperature terms. There's like, this is the stupidest. I would be better off lighting my house on fire. It's the dumbest. It's the worst system ever. It's terrible. So winter is the best.
It couldn't have happened to a nicer person.
I'll tell my daughter you said that.
Well, it's her fault. So
yeah,
she orchestrated all this.
No, that's absolutely fair. Yeah.
You got anything else for today, Paul, before we shut her down?
No, just, same old. I'll probably continue making fun of Intel on Twitter for the next 6 hours.
I'm sure everyone's looking forward to that.
How about you? What are you doing today?
I'm going to go put my feet back on top of the warmer and thaw my toes. And yeah.
All right.
Good. Think about how we've got to leave for CES here in 3 days?
No. I don't even want to look at that. I know I must have, I'm going to look. What horrific time on Monday do I leave? And there'll probably be like a snowstorm because, January. And survey says, oh God, dude, why? Yeah, my flight is at, no, that can't be right.
What time is it at?
7:55 in the morning.
It's not.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad, you say? But the airport is an hour and 10 minutes from my house. You have to be there, and we'll see if I get TSA pre. That will impact my arrival decision. But it's going to be an early morning. Early morning.
I think. What time do you get in then?
I closed it, but I want to say it said 1 something, but that must be 1 something our time. So
yeah. Let's see. Is it 2 hours?
It might even be 3 at this time of year. I can't remember how this works, but
time zones are difficult.
Yeah, well, it is in Vegas. Well, Vegas is Mountain or Pacific, which is it? I don't even know. Oh, it's Arizona that's screwed up. I don't know. It says 1:30, but that must be 1:30. Vegas time is 10:30, so it's 3 hours. Yeah, 10:30.
We land roughly about the same time.
Well, that's fun. We can not check into our airport or into our hotel rooms at the same time. Actually, if history is any guide, you'll be able to check into yours, and I won't be able to check into mine. That will be fun.
we can only hope. We can only hope.
Yeah.
Alrighty, everybody. Today's show is brought to you by Cloudberry Lab, providers of backup and file management services. Go check them out with the link below. And have yourselves a wonderful Thursday. We'll be right back here tomorrow.